Hi, welcome to the posterior chain series. Quick overview on what that is. Think of the low back, glutes, hamstrings, and the lower leg. It's important to train these muscles because it protects your low back and spine. It also gives you the strength to move around in everyday activities as well as makes you improve your athletics. I'm going to be going over some traditional and non-traditional movements, giving you some details so that you feel safe to take on doing some good leg work. One of the curses of modern society is the extended time that you spend sitting. Sitting tightens up the hip flexors as well as creates a wide array of symptoms that create low back discomfort, hip discomfort, tight hamstrings. So it's important to really work the posterior chain and get in touch with these muscle groups that have been tightening up over years. We're going to start off with the bent leg bridge. Most of my clients walk in and we start off with this movement, partially because they're spending an extended period of time at a desk and I want to lay them down on their back and making sure that their gluteals are firing. So from here, Robin starts laying down. Her feet are about shoulder width distance apart and the legs are bent to about 90 degrees. From here, she's going to drive through the heels and press the hips up off the ground. Now, in a perfect world here, I'd like to see a straight line from the knee to the shoulder. I want to make sure that she's not curling her toes or clenching her jaw while she's doing this. Her navel should be slightly pulled into her spine. The next progression of the bent leg bridge is a single leg bridge. Robin's going to lift one leg up and bridge her hip up and down, driving through the heel that's on the ground. Again, navel is to spine, driving and squeezing through the glutes. Now we want to make sure that she's not tipping her pelvis while she's pressing her hips up. She's keeping control of the pelvis, keeping both hip bones at equal height. Another progression on the bent leg bridge is bridging up and alternating legs. From here, Robin bridges up, keeps the pelvis held flat, navel is pulled to spine, alternates her legs, again driving through the heel and squeezing the glutes as she's doing that. Now we're going to move on to the sideline position. From here, we're going to do a sideline leg lift. I love this movement because it's going to work some of the weaker muscles of the outer hip. So the key ingredients here are keeping the legs completely straight and foot flexed as she's doing this. And we lift the leg up with good range of motion all the way up and all the way down. What we want to avoid in this motion, most people will compensate, open up the hip, toe up, and lift up and down, trying to dominate the movement with the hip flexors. So stay on the side, leg straight, foot flexed. Now we're moving into a quadruped position. From here, Robin is making a tabletop. I love this position, again, because it allows you to work on firing the glutes and making sure that they're functioning before you go to squats and lunges. She's doing a single leg hip extension from this position, keeping the leg straight, foot flexed, lifting up with control so that she feels it in the hip. We want to avoid opening up the hip as you come up. Keep it flat and navel slightly pulled to spine. Another variation from the quadruped is to bring the leg out in front of you. A little bit more difficult, so again, control the pelvis. From here, Robin keeps the leg straight, foot flexed, and lifts up and down from this angle. Navel is pulled to spine. Again, control the potential opening of the hip. Keep control. Navel pulled to spine, control the abdominal wall. Another quadruped position that I like to use is a bent leg variation here. If the first variation with the leg straight out to the side is too difficult, we can keep the knee bent at 90 degrees and lift the leg straight out to the side. Again, navel to spine, control the position of the pelvis, only come out what the hip gives you. This conditions some of the muscles of the hip that are usually not getting enough attention. First variation of deadlift that I teach is always a sumo deadlift. In this example, Robin is using a kettlebell so that we can really take a look at the position of her low back. The first and most important thing you should learn before you deadlift is the proper low back position. So if you look at Robin before she's initiating her lift, she has a nice curvature to her spine. We want to make sure we're stacking the vertebrae right on top of each other. And usually that means most people are tipping their pelvis anteriorly and creating a nice curve in their low back. As she drives through her heels and initiates the lift, she keeps her navel pulled to spine and exhales as she ascends. For this shot, we're going to work on focusing on the lower extremity so you can see position of the feet. The feet are usually held outside the width of the hip for the sumo stance deadlift. And we do have a little external rotation. That means your toes should point out some. about 10 to 15 degrees, and the width depends on your flexibility. If you're a little more flexible, you'll be able to go a little wider. As a general rule, a sumo stance deadlift is done outside the width of the hips so that the hands can grasp your weight inside the knees. For another angle here, we're going to focus on the knees. When Robin is doing her deadlift, the knees should not pass the ball of the foot. As a general rule, they should stay right over the ankle and minimize any forward flexion here at the ankle. For another shot here on the sumo deadlift, we're going to talk a little bit about shoulder blade position. Now, we want to make sure the chest is out and shoulders are down and maintained in that position while she does her lift. Robin, go ahead and start. She needs to be able to maintain the position of her low back, which we talked about, and maintain the position of her shoulder blades and shoulders while you're doing this movement. If you can't maintain this position, work on your mobility or drop the weight. When we're doing the sumo stance deadlift with the bar, how you approach the bar is very important. Robin's going to step up to the bar and get her shins as close to the bar without hitting it as possible. From there, she can place her hands inside the width of her knees and then adjust her low back, chest, shoulder position, drive through her heels, and then initiate the lift. Exhaling as she clears the knees, inhaling on descent. Now we're working into a more advanced version of a deadlift. That's a conventional stance. The benefits of doing a conventional stance is you're going to get a little bit more gluteal work. In the sumo stance, we end up getting a little bit more thigh work. But when you're doing the conventional stance, the low back comes into play more because you're leaning farther over the bar. Robin stands about feet shoulder width apart. She's going to hold her grip outside the width of her knees. Again, adjust her low back, adjust her upper back, chest out, drives through the heels, exhales as she clears the knees. Inhale on descent. The same principles of the sumo stance apply to the conventional stance. Alignment of the spine is the most important thing. Now we're moving to the Romanian deadlift. Now this is actually not a deadlift at all, because we start at the top of the motion. Before Robin starts, she's already standing in good posture. Chest out, shoulders down, low back and pelvis are in the correct position. From here, you're doing a deadlift, but starting at the top. Knees slightly bent, bending just past the knees, coming back up. Because you're starting at the top, you're eccentrically loading some of the muscles, so there's a significant benefit to doing this movement. Navel is pulled to spine, again, exhaling on ascent, inhaling on descent here. Another angle on the Romanian deadlift will show you that while Robin is keeping her position in the low back and the upper back, she actually has to press her hips slightly backward to maintain this position of the spine. And that's a key ingredient that a lot of my clients don't get. Robin, if you try to keep your hips, keep them in front and then lean forward, you'll end up feeling like you're falling into the balls of the feet on your toes and you'll lose your balance. So remember to press the hips slightly backward as you do the RDL. We're going to move into our high bar back squat. Now one of my pet peeves is how people get the bar into position. You want to face your rack and have the J-hooks facing outward towards you. From here, Robin marks equidistant in her hands, marking her thumb's width. Then from here, she steps under and places the bar on her upper traps or her upper fleshy area of her back, not on her spine. From here, she's ready to lift. She lifts up and steps back before starting the movement. So now we're going into the high bar back squat. Before Robin starts, we're thinking posture, posture, posture. Shoulders down, chest out. Nice tight grip. The bar is placed on the upper back on the tissue. Feet outside the width of the shoulders or just inside. Everyone's flexibility is a little bit different. You're going to have to work on finding out what works for you. How do you know that? By your descent and your position. As she bends her knees and descends down, she's keeping her low back arched. As long as she can maintain that position of the spine, the depth is good. The second she feels like she's rounding round out, this exercise starts to get real horrible, real fast. Drive through the heel, keep your low back arched. Making sure that you're keeping the pressure into the heel is key ingredient. Navel's also pulled to spine and breathing steadily. Another view on the high bar back squat, we want to look at the knees. A lot of things that I see oftentimes when people are doing their squat is they'll roll in through the feet. And it's real evident here. But even a subtle roll in through the feet is going to create pressure on the inner part of the knee. Conversely, you can also be very relaxed with the ankles and the knees go out to the outside. In a perfect world, I'd like to keep that knee right over the ankle. We get some movement forward is fine. As a general rule here, I want to make sure the knees don't pass the ball of the foot. A variation of the squat that I like to use a lot is the front squat. Anytime you're holding an object in front of the body, it challenges different parts of the leg. Now it's important that you develop a little bit of strength and flexibility to hold this bar. You'll see Robin is holding the bar in front of her body with her wrists are bending backwards, so that requires a little bit of flexibility. Also, she's trying to hold it up against her chest and shoulders, so as she descends, go ahead, as she descends, she's holding it with her body, more with her body, less with her hands. As she descends, the same principles of the squat apply. Finding your stance is important. That depends on flexibility and mobility. And also driving through the heels, just like your normal squat. A variation of a squat that I like to do, especially if you have tight shoulders or wrists for the front squat or back squats bother your shoulders, is a Zercher squat. Usually 10 out of 10 people can do this movement. The only limitation is that you're holding the bar in the nook of the elbow, so that can be a little bit limiting as well. The same principles of your squat apply. Chest is out, shoulders are down. On this movement, we can practice a variety of different stances just like our other squats. Again, mobility is key, maintaining the position of the low back. The two-handed kettlebell swing is definitely a game changer and worth learning. When you use kettlebells, you're using some momentum, so it's important that you develop a base of strength before you start this motion. Robin goes to pick up the kettlebell just like she would in her sumo stance deadlift. She stands up straight up with it. Now here's where it differs. The kettlebell has to go slightly behind the hips, so she leans forward as if she's bowing, thrusts her hips forward so that it forces the kettlebell to rise up. I like to tell my clients to visualize throwing this kettlebell over a high wall over their back so they get the natural arch of the kettlebell down. If you feel fatigue in your shoulders more than you feel fatigue in your posterior chain, low back, glutes, and hamstring, you're using too much arms. The weight should rise using the power in your legs. Another angle on the two-handed kettlebell swing will show you that the same principles that our squat apply. Robin is controlling the position of her knees. There's no roll in, there's no roll out. We want to make sure we're hinging forward at the hips and maintaining alignment of the back. I have all my athletes do a combination with the exercise ball here. Robin is going to do 3 different bridging patterns on the ball that I usually refer to as the triple threat for the hamstrings. She's going to start off with her hands on the floor, heels or lower leg on the ball. If the heels are on the ball, it adds a little bit of intensity. From here, she bridges her hips up and down. Not much unlike our bent leg bridge series, we're just adding some variations to the bridge. She's going to do repetitions here, bridging up and down, squeezing through the glutes and hamstrings. After she does a prescribed repetition range, she's going to go into 90-degree bend with the feet flexed. From here, she still does that bent leg bridge. She's bridging up and down, pressing the hips up. Again, striving for a straight line from knee to shoulder. The third and final combination on this series is a curl in. With the hips held high, navel slightly pulled to spine, she's drawing the ball in and out while maintaining hip position. Thank you for joining me for this posterior chain series. I hope you enjoyed this. For this and more ideas, go to our website, robinandvictor.com. If you click under Strength Coach, you can get some online coaching. If you join our mailing list at robinandvictor.com, you'll get ideas for recipes and how to live life to the max. Thanks.